I love cooking traditional New Orleans food, traditional Vietnamese food, and I think it's fun to be able to kind of make a riff on a tradition. Hi, I'm Chef Nini Nguyen. I'm a chef, instructor, and recipe developer, and today I'm gonna show you one of my family's favorite recipes, a little bit elevated. We're gonna make a cheesy grits souffle, and I'm gonna pair this with an old-fashioned highball, which is a light and fizzy version of the classic. So first, we're going to prep our ramekins. To prep these ramekins, we're going to brush them with some butter, and then we're gonna dust it with sugar. I know it's a cheesy grits and sugar sounds weird, but the butter and sugar is gonna help elevate and make that souffle puff up. Now, there is a technique to it. I like to add some soft butter to a pastry brush, and I brush it upwards in the ramekin, like this. And that way, when the souffle climbs up, it has kind of a guideline to where it needs to go. So I brush it all the way up. Be generous because you don't want your souffle to stick. The worst is when it's stuck to the side and it doesn't have anywhere to go, so it doesn't get to rise to its full potential. It wasn't until I moved to New York that I really noticed that I live in a unique place. I am Vietnamese from New Orleans, and traditions are very important down here. So it's the same flavor profiles that you would normally get, just a little bit reinvented. I think it's important to be able to kind of honor your family's tradition, but also make your own. So once you finish buttering it, it's time to add the sugar. And my trick is to scoop maybe a tablespoon or two into your ramekin, and you kind of shake it around. I like to kind of roll it around like this so you know that all of the sides get some sugar, and then I'll tap it into the next one. And I'm just gonna continue to do that with all of my ramekins. And it's okay if it spills into the next one, like that. And the sugar actually gives the sides of the souffle a nice, like, kind of sugary crust. Cause I like corn is naturally sweet. Grits are not that sweet, but I think corn lends itself to both sweet and savory things. This is gonna be a savory dish, but this sweetness is gonna give it like that balance and texture. So now that our ramekins are buttered and sugared, we're gonna put this in the fridge so they firm up a little bit, and now we're gonna cook our grits. So we wanna make the grits, and it takes a little while, so we're gonna put our heat on medium high heat to start, and we're gonna add about 3 cups of milk. So you wanna get your milk to a simmer, and now we're gonna whisk in 3/4 of a cup of grits. And you're gonna cook this for anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour until your grits are tender and it's gonna thicken. So you're gonna cook these grits slowly on low, stirring constantly so that you know that it's not going to scorch on the bottom, and it will thicken and the grits will soften. So it takes a little while, but it's well worth it. So it's been about 30 minutes and our grits have thickened really nicely. They're tender all the way through. And now we're going to add in some butter and some salt. We want to add 2 tablespoons of butter. Just plop that in, let that melt. You can turn the heat off at this point. And then we want to add about a teaspoon of kosher salt, or to taste. But keep in mind we're adding some cheese to this, so you don't want it to be too salty. So now we're ready for the next step. So now that we have our grits cooked, it should look nice and creamy like this. We're going to add in the cheese so the cheese melts. I have a 1/2 cup of cheddar cheese right here. I'm just gonna mix it all in. And then I want about a 1/4 cup of your favorite soft cheese. It could be mascarpone, it could be cream cheese, or it could be an herb and garlic one, but you want about a 1/4 cup of cheese. Pack it in just like that, and we're gonna mix this all together. And you wanna do this while your grits are warm so that the cheese really melts in there. Now, once your cheese is mixed in, we're going to crack and separate 3 eggs. So take your time. I like to kind of spill it all into my hand, letting all the egg whites escape through my fingers. And then you have just the yolk left. So we're gonna save the egg whites and we're gonna whip that to make it souffle. But now we're gonna gently fold in our egg yolks. You wanna make sure to give your grits a little time to cool before you add your yolks, otherwise you risk scrambling them. And so I'm just going to plop them in, break them up, and then stir quickly. And now this is our souffle base. And now we're gonna whip our egg whites. So you want your peaks to stand up just like that. So now we're gonna fold this into our grits. And we're going to fold it in 2 sections. So we're gonna put just a little bit in to mix it to lighten our grits, and then we're gonna fold in the rest. And as I'm folding it in, I'm lifting the bottom of the grits and kind of gently folding it over the egg whites. You just do that until it's all incorporated. So my first batch looks like this, and you can see there's a little bit of egg whites around it. That's okay. We're gonna add in the rest of our egg whites. And now we really wanna fold this really well. We're mixing, it's almost all incorporated. I see a little bit of white spots, which is not ideal. You wanna kind of fold it, but don't fold it so much that it deflates. So if there's just like little pockets of egg whites, that's okay, but you shouldn't see a big streak of egg white. So your mixture should look something like this. Jiggly, it's fluffy. And now we're gonna put this into our prepared ramekins. Okay, so here I have my cold ramekins, and we have our sugar and butter in it, just as a reminder. So you wanna fill it to about a 1/2 inch to the top so that the souffle has some room to kind of grow. And you wanna kind of smooth in the top. You can see all the like air bubbles in our mixture even before we bake it. Now, I like to take the extra step to kind of smoothen the tops with a little spatula or a butter knife. And this just ensures that the top of your souffle is gonna have that nice signature, like flat top. Now, the final step to making sure we have the perfect souffles and it rise as much as possible is we're gonna take our thumb and we're just going to scrape the top, that 1/2 inch that I reserved without any of the filling or the souffle base. We're going to wipe that ramekin clean so that there's no butter or sugar, and it's really going to grow from there. So I'm just gonna take my thumb, kind of scrape off all of that butter and sugar, and you just clean the top off just like that. And now we're gonna put them in the oven. To pair with my souffle, I'm gonna make an old-fashioned highball using Maker's Mark 46. Because of its unique finishing process with French oak staves, it has this bold and complex flavor that really pairs well with the corn and the cheese of this grits souffle. Now to start this drink, I'm gonna fill a Collins glass with some ice. We're gonna use 1 part of Maker's Mark 46. And to that, we're gonna add a little sweetener, which is gonna be simple syrup. And so we want about a bar spoonsful. Perfect. A couple of dashes of bitters. And now to make it light and airy, just like my souffle, we're gonna finish it with some soda. And this gets garnished with the traditional orange peel. I can't wait to have this with my souffle. So here we have it, guys, my cheesy grits souffle. Now to taste. Oh, it's so airy. Look at that. So hot. Cheers. It's super savory, and it has all that creaminess like my family's traditional recipe, but it's so light and airy. And the sugar that kind of crusts to the side of the souffle gives it one texture, but then a slight sweetness to it. And this old-fashioned highball with Maker's Mark 46, with its reimagined take on its original recipe, brings bold, complex flavors that go so well with this souffle. Cheers!